Hey, and thanks for stopping by. You're watching Riddle Reef Media, where we talk about interesting stories in business and engineering.
American families demanding answers from the biggest car company in the nation.
Just lost power, it's like it just shut off.
Car defect that led to the deaths of over 100 people, and one the government says General Motors knew of but kept to itself for a very long time.
Usually, when we think of car crashes, we may think it is caused by speed, breaking rules, or a loss of attention. Then, what about a keychain? Could a keychain unexpectedly turn your ignition switch off and lead to a disastrous consequence? This is a story of the switch from hell, the silent killer. In the evening in Atlanta, USA, after finishing a full day of work, Brooke Melton is driving to her boyfriend's house to celebrate her 29th birthday. Suddenly, she lost control of her car, hydroplaning and sliding into oncoming traffic. A Ford Focus collided with the rear passenger side of Brooke's car, causing it to rotate violently. The vehicle spun off the road and plummeted 4.5 meters into the waters of a nearby creek. After a while, a passerby found her and immediately called 911, even though the ambulance arrived as soon as they could. But they could not save her. The vehicle involved in the accident was from General Motors. In the 1990s, General Motors embarked on the development of a new ignition switch for their upcoming car models, including the Chevrolet Cobalt. This component was designed to mark a new era in General Motors engineering. The ignition switch was plagued with problems from the very start. Dubbed the switch from hell internally, due to persistent issues, it failed to meet General Motors' own mechanical specifications. The key could be turned too easily, affecting its stability, despite recommendations to increase the torque. Concerns about potential risk and the reluctance to alter its electrical functionality led to the switch being approved for production. This decision, made by the design release engineer who believed this issue wouldn't impact the vehicle's performance, allowed the faulty switch to be installed in millions of General Motors vehicles and laid the groundwork for a ticking time bomb that was soon to go off. After the launch of the Chevrolet Cobalt and the Saturn Ion, General Motors received a large volume of complaints in regards to the car's safety issues, including issues with the car being unable to start in the cold weather. The keychain was easily hit with a driver's knee, causing the car to turn off. The car would also sometimes stall at highway speeds. General Motors formally documented all of these complaints as part of the standard vehicle improvement process. However, these committees failed to notice a key problem with the ignition switch. When the key was turned to the accessory or off position, the airbags would fail to work, the most critical safety feature of modern-day cars. This oversight led to the decision of classifying this problem as a customer satisfaction issue, rather than a safety concern. By overlooking this, General Motors did not see any urgency in fixing the problem. In the early 2006, the design release engineer working on the Chevrolet Cobalt suggested making a change to the car's ignition switch to fix the cold weather startup issues. The D-dent plunger inside the ignition that keeps the key in positions like on or off was too small and only needed 9.24 Newton-centimeters of force to turn the key from the run to accessory position. This meant even a small bump in the road, a heavy keychain, or accidentally hitting the key with your knee could switch off the engine while driving. So the idea was to make it stronger, like the one used in the General Motors Cadillac. Chevy addressed this with the updated parts introduced in newer Cobalt models, manufactured after 2008, by using a larger D-dent plunger that requires about 17.57 Newton-centimeters of force. It significantly reduced the risk of these incidents. The company that made these switches, Delphi Automotive, now known as Aptiv, agreed and created an updated, improved switch later that year. A big problem arose because the updated and old switches were labeled with the same part number. This isn't a normal thing to do in engineering because it makes it hard to tell the difference between the old part and the updated improved part. Because of this, General Motors didn't realize there was a difference, and the old Chevrolet Cobalts did not get updated switches from a recall. Fast forward to 2007, and this issue becomes a significant problem. A tragic and unusual car crash involving a Chevrolet Cobalt caught the attention of a trooper from the Wisconsin Safety Patrol. During the investigation, the trooper uncovered some critical details about the crash. He found that the car's ignition switch was in the accessory position at the time of the accident. This was an important discovery because when the ignition switch is not fully turned to the on position, it prevented the airbags from deploying. This finding was particularly concerning because General Motors had already informed car dealerships about potential issue. The report was sent to General Motors, highlighting significant safety issues that fell on deaf ears. 3 years after this report, in 2010, Brooke Melton would also fall victim to the same fate. It wouldn't be seen by a General Motors engineer until 7 years later in 2014.
Breaking Call 7 consumer alert. Within the last 90 minutes, we've learned General Motors is recalling another 800,000 vehicles due to ignition problems.
General Motors announcing it is expanding its recall to include nearly 1.4 million vehicles.
This time, more than 3 million cars are affected.
The 6 new safety recalls involved mid-size and large sedans from the years 1997 to 2014.
8 million vehicles this time. Today's recall actually expands the massive ignition switch recall to even more cars.
This year alone, the company has recalled more than 20 million vehicles worldwide. Christine.
For 5 months, GM sent out multiple recalls linked to the ignition switch fault. The first recall included the Chevy Cobalt and Pontiac G5S, but was later extended to include 6 more different car models, including the Camaro. In total, 124 deaths were linked to the fault, and 276 others were injured. The recall cost General Motors $4.1 billion in repair costs, victim compensation, and other expenses. With the establishment of a new internal organization called the Global Vehicle Safety Group, General Motors later increased the number of recalls for other issues unrelated to the switch, with the total count exceeding 30 million vehicles recalled in 2014 alone. While the General Motors ignition switch scandal may seem like a distant memory, it underscores a persistent issue that remains highly relevant today. Recent events, such as the Boeing 737 MAX crisis, highlights critical importance of prioritizing quality and safety in the products we rely on daily. So what do you think? Should companies working in safety-critical industries require more oversight from governing bodies? Or should we trust these companies to regulate themselves? Leave your comments below, and thanks for stopping by. You're watching Riddle Reef Media, and I'll see you all in the next video.